line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
How about John Bird for TV Kart USA on home soil? They take the win in Amarillo.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Champions aren't just born on the kart track. At SimShop, we deliver professional-grade simulators with the best performance-to-price ratio in the industry. Founded by racers who understand what you need, our SimMagic and Moza equipment is powerful enough for the pros, yet affordable for everyone. With unmatched customer support and a thriving community, we're your racing partner. Visit simshop.com today.
Let's go race.
Come on, man.
Florida kart racers, you asked for it and we're going to bring it. Introducing Florida Karting Championship, FLKC, a brand new racing series coming to Florida in 2026.
To those of you here in the paddock, to those of you watching live from wherever you may be, either in Canada or in the U.S., welcome to Kart Chasers live coverage of the 2025 NWKA Burly Product Super Cup for round number 5, or I guess the 5th weekend, if you will, and rounds number 9 and 10. We're here in Washington in Sumas. So it's a pleasure to be here. As always, my name is Caleb Yeska. Alongside me here in the booth, you guys may have heard him as well. He was over at Route, Mr. Jackson Lambros. And we're already going green with our qualifying session, our senior 100cc, if you will, NW100 senior that we have here. 3 different engine packages. Jackson, but first of all, pleasure to have you. Welcome to Washington. I know you've been here before, only not too far for you, right? Down from California.
One of the more regional treks for me so far with Kate Kart Chaser. But no, what a privilege to bear the flag for Kart Chaser. Our first time out here with the Burly Product Super Cup. First time Kart Chaser's been in the state of Washington. And an absolutely phenomenal track. We're not the only ones here for the first time at this track in this series. And coming up for me from the state of California, Blake Nash in the 95 Ital Kart.
Yeah, Blake Nash joining us here this weekend. He's had a pretty successful run in the past couple of weeks, right? You look back at the Stars Championship Series, got his first win in the OKN package on 125cc categories nationwide. So he broke out there, and he was close to his first Pro X30 victory last weekend as well at the SCUSA Summer Nationals. A lot of drivers that were out there joining us down here this weekend, or I should say up here in Washington this weekend. Blake Nash running with the Ital Kart team, the Ital Motors team as well on the X100 package, the package that Ital Motors builds here just a couple of miles, if you will, right down from the border of the U.S. and Canada. And so far, Blake Nash been the class of the field. He was fastest in that morning warm-up session, rolled out first, if you will, that first session, almost like a happy hour. Jonathan Ports in the 9:15 found himself second, and Jesus Vasquez Jr. in the 77 for Wicked Racing GFC finds himself third. But even then, everybody's been chasing Blake Nash. He's the first driver on that X100 package. You go back to Jonathan Ports and Jesus Vasquez Jr., the two of them on K8100 power plants. You go back to a couple of others, I believe. Sydney Cassell's, again, a name that you guys have probably heard. She's been running over in the Pro X30 side of things as well on the national circuit. She's in the 21, and I believe after speaking with her after morning sessions, the Catalyst driver development team decided to put her on the X100 power plant as well, which is, again, a lot of differences, and that was one of the biggest talking points that we've had, myself and yourself, new to these, if you will, this multi-engine racing classes, being the VLR 100. I know you're familiar with that on the Rock Cup USA side of things, the K100, the basic IAME 100cc package that we see at the United States Pro Kart Series, at the SCUSA Pro Tour, and pretty much anywhere else. But then again here, right, you have the Tal Motors and the engines that they build, the X100, and there are a lot of differences to the engines and where they benefit racetrack to racetrack. And they're saying, from what we've heard, this is an X100 track, and you're seeing Blake Nash, again, live up to that as well here in the morning, or I guess if you will, in the qualifying session here, Jackson.
Right, so we talk about how unique this format is, the ability to run different engine makes and models, and that's kind of led to, I don't want to say some mad science, because it's a formula that a lot of these guys have figured out before the time they qualify, but we were talking to a lot of guys this morning, Caleb, some big experimentation, trying to figure out what's the right tool for the job, what's the right engine to maximize this technical, high-commitment racetrack.
Yeah, and it's a lot, right? I mean, again, for a lot of drivers, the first time they've been here, very tight, twisty racetrack. A lot of drivers have said it is a little difficult to pass around this place, but even then, right, we're focusing in on this qualifying session, and we're getting close. Blake Nash finds himself top of the timing charts of 53.061, with Jonathan Ports, the first of the KA100 seniors, in the 915, finds himself in second. Jesus Vasquez in the third spot, to Timothy Clark, to Connor Chin, Owen Luther, Grayson Schobert, Sidney Castles in eighth, Jack Grote, and Phoenix Walsh. Your top 10 so far in this session. We follow along a lap with Jesus Vasquez. We talked about the different engine packages, different tire here as well, definitely to what we're used to seeing down, if you will, on the East Coast, down south. The LeConte tire, the LeConte Red on these 100cc package here this weekend. A little bit softer, very similar to the Levanto tire, with a very, very soft sidewall. Again, and we are expecting this track to really rubber in as this weekend progresses, Jackson, with the amount of karts that we have here this weekend. Also, a huge shout out to NWKA and the Burly Product Super Cup, I believe, their biggest entry count of the year. And here we go, checkered flag in the air, last couple of laps coming through now. Blake Nash going to be the first to get it. He's going to dive into the pits. He still holds on to the provisional pole position. Ports still out there, going to go around for one more. I believe Jesus Vasquez dove into the pits. Timothy Clark currently sits fourth. He's still out on the racetrack. We'll see what the 915 can give us on his final time around, Jackson.
Going to need high commitment here. Been a really close tussle for row one between Ports and Vasquez. Ports, if anything, will give himself a little bit of an insurance gap, and at the buzzer will take that pole position down from Blake Nash, who drops himself big time further back. And that'll be all she wrote. Jonathan Ports on the front row.
So what we have there is by position. So with Blake and Jesus Vasquez working their way into the pits, again, it would shuffle them down. But on the pole position, indeed, is the 64 of Blake Nash. Jonathan Ports came across the line. He wasn't able to improve on his final time around. Only second, so he's going to share the front row with the California kid, Blake Nash. Jesus Vasquez Jr. going to come across third. He's going to start alongside Timothy Clark on row number 2. Connor Chin, Owen Luther, row number 3. Back to 4 with Grayson Schobert and Sidney Castles on row 4. So Blake Nash holding strong. That X100 package showing to be the way to go here, Jackson.
And I think you look at Blake Nash as a driver, it's just the depth that kid and his team has as a whole. He's not a guy that's committed to a certain series or a certain style, whether it's tracks or karts. And I mean, the guy just gets his hands dirty wherever he can, whether it's Tri-C down in California, Rock Cup, Superkarts USA. The guy wants to go out and learn, and he learns quick. We've seen that today.
Yeah, the most interesting thing that I got from Blake as well this morning, right? I'm kind of talking to him and joking around with some of the other guys that we've seen, I think, quite often, right? Kyle Wick, Sonny Cervelli, who's here this weekend, Jacob Gulick, another one, the Catalyst guys, Remy Rochetti, Mario Gill, a lot of their drivers, right? It's almost like we're following each other around the country almost, right? Going from racetrack to racetrack, and joking around with Blake this morning, he's like, yeah, my goal this year is to be at a racetrack every single weekend to learn as much as I can every time I get out there. And this weekend, we're going to see him twice. He's going to run the Briggs senior class as well as the 100cc category here this weekend here at NWKA. But nonetheless, the NRC Cadet class, the 206 drivers out on the racetrack now. In the morning, it was a 95 of Maverick Thompson who was quickest. Riley Smith, the 44, she came across the line second. Maddox Carlucci, the 103rd, to Sebastian Oki, Ashton Croft, Jensen Mayer, Ryder Wentworth, 7 drivers, Maggie Worley as well. She's in the 55. Jax Hohagen in the 73. Harper Nuxau, Benton Hurley, Otto Powers, Ryan Duff, Andrew Eburn. 14 drivers that are joining us here this weekend in the NRC Cadet 206 class. They're going to be following with the Nitro Kart, the 95 of Thompson here to start this off. But Jackson, you've actually done some research as well prior to the weekend, right? Kept up with the championship point standings. Tell us a little bit of what we're expecting to see here in this 206 cadet class here this weekend.
Early breakaway so far this weekend from Maverick Thompson with almost a third on the field, seemingly in eternity, especially in some of the junior classes where everything is so fast. But you look at the Briggs class right now, and only 5 drivers are actually in that fight for full season championship. Maddox Carlucci, who currently leads on the timing, has started a couple of events, rounds 1 and 3, or weekends 1 and 3, I should say, as we run the doubleheader format here. But you look at Riley Smith, Ashton Croft, Ryder Wentworth, Maggie Worley, Maverick Thompson, actually the top of our list for guys that aren't in that full series of eligibility, but still fairly close up front with Riley Schmidt at 1635 points, and then it gets really close further back with just 10 points separating Ashton Croft, Jensen Meyer, and Ryder Wentworth for second. So this is a very paramount day, Caleb, because this is what's setting the tone for that final race tomorrow, trying to get yourself in that position where you can take that lead at the very last minute from Riley Smith.
And even then, a unique format as well, right? You have one weekend, two separate rounds. So you have round number 9 today, round number 10 tomorrow. And again, 2 opportunities, right? You don't have the best of days today, you reset tomorrow in the morning, bright and early at, I should say 9, due to city ordinance, right? Where we go hot at 9 and we hard cut off of 7 p.m. tonight. So again, got to make sure we make it in time for everything. But that being said, we're still following along. Maverick Thompson still the fastest. Ashton Croft, Sebastian Oki. We saw Maddox Carlucci making a couple of moves there. I'm not sure if it was on the 46 of Oki or if it was on Riley Smith, the 44. And I think indeed it was on the 44 of Riley Smith. They're on the Croc promotion machine. She's currently 5th. Jensen Mayer in the 29, I believe, just got passed as well on the Ital Kart. We follow along, and very interesting enough, we do have standing starts for these 206 seniors. I believe in the senior class, I'm not too sure about the cadet ranks or our junior 1 category either. But that being said, that's quite characteristic. You don't see that very often outside of, I would say, endurance races. So that is a cool factor of it, right? And you'll see a lot of drivers, especially on those race starts, having to hop up in the seat, having to take some weight off the rear axle, whatnot, trying to get that engine and the revs going higher on these Briggs and Stratton motor packages. But that being said, we're getting close to the end of this qualifying session for your 206 Cadet here, Jackson. And Maddox Carlucci, driver we spoke to a little bit this morning, finds himself top of the timing charts in the 100.
So excited this morning. Saw the footage during warm-ups and looking at it and was like, are you guys watching TV? And me and Caleb looked at him and was like, that's going to be you. You're going to be on TV this morning. So putting on a heck of a show for us as nearly half a second up so far over Maverick Thompson. There's Carlucci in the 100 with the blue suit, white helmet.
Yeah, he's working his way around it. And again, we've talked a little bit about this racetrack, right? Very, very technical. In this 206 class, that first turn, it's almost flat out. I've heard from a couple of the 100cc drivers that turn 1, again, with this new iteration of the tire, it's become, a little easier to take that first corner a little bit flat out. So I would have to assume, right, in this 206 class, it would be nothing short of that. This time by, one more right-hander to go for Maddox Carlucci across the checkered flag. Maverick Thompson doesn't improve. Oki, nothing out of him yet. Ashton Croft, Riley Smith, nothing. And it's looking good for the 100. Maddox Carlucci on the pole position here in 206 Cadet. What a way to go through to the next couple of sessions here later on today.
How's that for a turnaround? Maverick Thompson clearly looking like the favorite, but Riley Smith and Maddox Carlucci both able to find a sizable gap and an improvement there. So good start for the heats there for Carlucci.
Yeah, it's a great start nonetheless. Coming up next, you have your shifter light class. And again, you'll see a lot of familiar names to what we saw even last weekend at the SCUSA Pro Tour for their final championship. One of the championship contenders, pretty much of a long shot going into the weekend, but Corentin Rousseau is joining us here, the Frenchman. Going to be out there on the racetrack as well with a couple of locals, if you will, Cooper Becklin, Connor Wick, a couple of the notables as well to keep an eye on. But that being said, our first commercial break of our coverage here in qualifying. We'll be right back with some more.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like 20 bucks a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like 50 bucks a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all of the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Paulie Massimino wins in KA. Paulie Massimino is a winner in OKN Stars.
Take your driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion, Paulie Massimino. Car rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome. From Briggs 206 to Mini to KA100 and X30. With in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead follow on-track sessions, each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
It's go fast time for the shifter lights, as it is all eyes on Massimo Valiante, the national level karter, son of the legendary racer Michael Valiante, which is pretty much royalty in Canada, especially at the karting level. He's dominated so far, and Caleb, he enters this final weekend with 120 points over Riley Miller.
Yeah, not a bad showing for Massimo. And again, just a couple of driver zone one-offs this weekend as well, right? We talked about Corentin Rousseau, Cooper Becklin as well, who's done the entire year here as well. So a couple of drivers to look out for. Connor Wick, again, we talked about his brother, Kyle Wick, just recently a huge showing for the Wicked Racing team as well out here this weekend. on their GFC packages. So just keep an eye on that as well. And again, in the shifter class, these guys are going to be super busy as well, right? Kind of even looking at turn number 1, where in some of the single speed classes, it's a flat out corner one way or another. And here in shifter, right, these guys are downshifting twice almost and pretty much going fast.
Right.
Very, very fast. You saw them through the last corner of the super left-hander, very, very fast. A couple of sections here. They're going to be super busy. And you can only imagine, right, with the lengths of these main events as well later on today. I believe they are going to be cut down due to time reasons. They keep everything on schedule with the hard cutoff being at 7. You know, it's probably going to fall a little bit more into their hands where they won't have to be in the seat as long or fall under, if you will, the elements a little bit longer. But even then, right, you're going to have the likes of Cooper Becklin or so. I mean, Becklin was on the Pro Tour side of things last year, doing 20-lap main events at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Very physical, very hot, and Russo just came off, again, another 20-lap main event out there as well for the SKUSA Pro Tour. But that being said, different beast here this weekend with SEMA. Different racetrack, if you will.
I think it's just also down to how much this track is already rubbered in, and I think with this new tire compound, even to major differences from the last time the Super Tour visited in 2023. A lot of guys know it's going to be high grip, but it's still very much an unknown as to what that's going to be, how it's going to evolve throughout the weekend.
Yeah, we'll see it progress as well, right? And again, I really think we're kind of nowhere near to where we're going to see it get to as far as you know, the grippiness of the racetrack goes. We still have a lot more classes that are getting set to go. We've only had, if you will, one day or one session of warm-up sessions. So again, it's going to continue to increase. We were here yesterday as well on the Friday for their practice sessions, but even then, it's going to continue to increase, and we're going to have, I would expect, a very greasy racetrack, if you will, at the end of the day. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. But even then, something to look out for here is you see these guys on the absolute limit. And again, very characteristic about this place as well. You have the temporary barriers on the outside, gives you almost a Las Vegas feel. You talk about temporary circuits, gives a little bit of that, as well as your permanent circuit kind of style corners, right? But again, the margin of error very, very minimal here this weekend, Jackson.
Track definitely seems a little bit more smooth than Vegas, but definitely for sure with the temporary barriers, getting that street circuit feel. Halfway home here in Helmet House, shifter qualifying. Becklin in a different time zone thus far over Wick. I beg your pardon. Yep. Rousseau over Cooper Becklin. Then Romo Rusci over Massimo Variante. Your first 2 rows. Karen Madden rounding out your top 5. As I say that, Connor Wick leapfrogs for P5.
Yeah, it's a good showing so far for Connor Wick in the 289. And again, home track for the Ital Kart team, for the Catalyst Driver Development team as well. Quarantine Russo, Remo Ruschetti, we talked about him. Haven't seen much of him in the shifter side of things so far this year. Been focusing on their X30 packages, building that up as well. But again, all eyes are set to Las Vegas Motor Speedway later on this year when we head over to the Super Nationals. And again, Russo just testing that chassis, engine, a little bit of everything, but issues for one of the Ital Kart machines. That's the 68, it looks like. Massimo Valiente off the racetrack here early, and something amiss on that Ital Kart as we continue to follow along with the 89 of what looks to be TJ Madonna, Madonna in the 414 of Connor Wick. My apologies there, it's a 289 here on our timing charts, just 89 on the racetrack. But Connor Wick out there currently sits 5th.
So major drama for our championship leader, Valiante, who appears to have some engine troubles in the back half of qualifying. Currently got that kart definitely on the top half of the field, but has had some issues now, and that is the last thing you want to start your weekend off.
And again, you also talk about those money laps as well, right? We're at the end of the qualifying session. Lap 2, lap 3 are usually going to be your fastest lap times. But when you get closer to the, if you will, the latter half of the qualifying session, you're not going to find that same pace out of the Lacan tire or any tire for that matter towards the closing stage of the qualifying session. That's why it's so important to capitalize on the early stages of the qualifying. And again, you look at the laps. Quarantine Rousseau did just that. 4 laps for Quarantine. Lap number 4 was a money lap. And again, you factor in a warm-up lap, maybe 2 good push laps, maybe 3. So 92 showed his pace and shows himself to be better than the rest. Currently on the pole position, 49.355 for Rousseau. Becklin in the 28, 49.590. So Remo Ruschetti, who's going to start on the inside behind teammate and driver in Rousseau. Valiente, again, we saw the woes for him, the struggles. He still finds himself 4th, and the first of the GFCs for Connor Wick on the Wicked Racing GFC. He's going to run up your top 5. But even then, what a way to start off the day. So far, a couple of sessions coming up next. You have your shifter heavy class. And again, some of the Masters drivers and if you will, some of the heavier drivers with a little bit more weight on the seat. Again, shifter light showing. You have a couple of the national level guys, and we'll see what this heavy class can give us here as well in a couple of moments. Zimmer Motorsport shifter heavy now out onto the racetrack. In the morning, the 113 of Cole Hager was the quickest with Matteo Alfano, Ricky Worley, Cameron Castles, Ryan Hager. Your top 5 drivers, the 5 drivers that top the morning session. Again, different conditions here later on today, right? We're almost at noon. Temperature definitely rising, 73 degrees compared to the, about 65 that we saw earlier today. So a little bit of changes. You'll start to see track temperature as well start to increase. With that being said, again, you'll see it change a little bit more as the day continues. And again, you got to think, right? Scrub tires maybe in the morning. You put on that fresh set of slicks here as well for the qualifying session. And we'll see these shifter carts start to come to life.
Going to be a major sense of strategy when to make that jump over. Ryan Hager, your championship leader in the Zimmer Motorsport shifter heavy class. That is still all but determined, as we still have 4 drivers eligible for the end of year rewards. It is Hager over Ryan Deaver, the 2 Ryans out in front. Ricky Worley in 3rd, David Chang in 4th. David Chang a little bit further back at 13:45 for points, but top 3 all within 100 points of each other. So a heavyweight fight is definitely in the cards here this weekend. Hager, though, setting that pace very early here in qualifying.
Yeah, here we go. Hager a 51.791. We saw Rousseau's fastest lap come on lap number 4. And again, you'll see those times continuing to improve, right? Lap 2, lap 3 it is about where I'm expecting to see that money lap, like we like to call it here in karting, if you will, Jackson. Where everything really comes to temperature, where everything really comes to life, and where the drivers are really at one with their machines. But here we go. Still following around with the 03 of Alfano.
I'm very curious, Caleb, for what your approach was to qualifying, because we see this at all levels of motorsport, kind of opening with a more safe banker lap, keeping everything in one piece, and giving yourself that kind of safety net, if you will, right? Giving yourself something where when you go max attack and kind of put in that solid lap at the end, you have some insurance at the end.
Well, think about it as a set of stairs, right? You're slowly but surely working your way up, step by step, working your way up. And that's a matter of really just getting heat into the tires, heat into the engine, finding yourself in a good temperature, and finding yourself as well ready to give that lap. Because again, you talk about karting a whole lot, and it is a very physical thing. I know you're very familiar with the car side of things, but getting yourself in that mindset, right? You kind of go into a different, if you will, into a different place in your own head, right? It's almost like tunnel vision whenever you are putting that lap together. Because, think about it one way or another. it takes very little thought to go into. You really need to be on cruise control, coasting, and giving it everything when you're out there, and you find yourself in almost a different dimension, if you will, right? But even then, a lot of these drivers are finding themselves just in that. We see Hager's time continuing to improve. He had a 51.162, and he's pulling into the pits. So again, he's past that now. And we still have 2 minutes to go in this qualifying session if our timing is correct here. Alfano finds himself in second. His last lap was a 51.288. We follow him around for one more. We'll see if the 03 on your screen now can give us one more lap. If he can improve above Hager. Here we go. Across the line now.
Hand up there, I think, trying to relax those hands, or maybe he just doesn't think it's enough.
Slowing down there again. So Hager, just not going to be enough. We'll expect to see him roll into the pits here in a couple of moments. But that's it for the 113. Again, just about over a minute to go in this session. And I think Hager's going to hold on here, Jackson.
Great way for him to start off this weekend. As second best right now, Brian DeVar, 1479 points. That's about 80 back from Hager. So putting himself in the prime spot right now to build some insurance going into the final set of races tomorrow, and with some money races coming up tonight. So big points on the table, and Hager setting the table right now to really, really capitalize.
Yeah, a little change up at the top. It looks to be Ryan Hager now, the driver who just broke into the 52nd mark. He's in the 114. What a lap out of Ryan Hager. Take the pole position away from Cole Hager.
Two Hagers going at it, and they've found racetrack next to each other as 714 working his way through that incredibly high commitment right-left combo through the pit lane.
Checkered flag will be out this time by Jackson. We'll see if Ryan can extract anything else out of it. But again, still finds himself on the pole, and that was on lap number 5. Lap time around here showing to be strong at the around 50 seconds. So checkered flag in the air now. No changes. Ryan Hager holds on. A 50.928, the only driver to make it into the 50s so far. Outside of his, I believe his brother, maybe Cole Hager, earlier on in the weekend. A 50.974 was Cole's time in the warm-up session. Ryan Hager now, a 50.928, so just a couple of hundredths faster than what brother Cole was able to go in the morning. But how about that? It's all Hager, row number 1, heading into the pre-final on today.
Family affairs further back as it's Jeff and Alex Westland not sharing a row, but next to each other position-wise in P5 and 6. That's your grid right now. Tag Juniors coming up here from Washington. Time for the Tag Juniors to qualify. 8 karts in this class.
Again, we'll see how they all stack up as well in this qualifying session. And again, local to home, the Italian Motors Tag Junior class with, like Jackson said, about 8 drivers total here on the Saturday, with Mason Bemister in the number 12, Kai Denos in the 22, Brandon Eng, Troy Ferguson in the 43. Also racing with the Catalyst Driver Development Team out of Seal Beach, California, Ella Salzman, back to Ayrton Cooley, Sebastian de Moisac, Matthias Brokaken, and Oliver Broken. Sorry, mispronounced the first one there for Matthias. Hopefully I got it a little better with Oliver, but that being said, going to have to learn that one quite quickly here, Jackson. Those 2 drivers find themselves close to the top.
We're watching Matthias right now in the 16 kart, has won all but one in the Tag Junior class presented by Italian Motors USA, and is one of the only full-time drivers in this class this season. Not even a contest when you look at standings. Still need to tack an asterisk on that with our 2 drop rounds, but has been rock solid coming into this final round. Good gap on the rest of the pack so far.
Yeah, at the moment, the gap in between Brandon Eng and Matthias Broken finds itself at just under half a second. So you look at the lap times that Matthias was able to set on his first time around was a 51.587. Again, we're expecting that to improve as the session goes on. Brandon was able to set a 52.012. And again, you talk about the difference in packages as well here this weekend. You have obviously your X30 package, your, if you will, your Rock Vortex engine package as well. And I believe Italian Motors has one of their packages as well with us here this weekend. But that being said, another difference that you have is the Rotax. The Rotax package also one that you'll definitely see out here. So in the 125cc categories for the junior drivers, you'll see a little bit of everything.
Seeing XX right now with a little bit of an issue on our timing side of things.
Ferguson, that is, I
believe that's Ayrton Quee in the 210. I could be wrong. Currently 5th quickest.
Yeah, I believe that's Troy Ferguson, the only driver not showing up on our timing charts here. A double X. So we'll continue to update as it goes on.
Brandon Eng closing that gap of 51.466. Gets him within a 10th of Matthias Barokin. It's still not enough. Further back, it's Sebastian de Mosiak. And then brother Barokin, Oliver in 4th. Kai Denus in 5th, 52.922 to round out your top 5.
Just got under 2 minutes to go. Matthias in the 716 showing his pace. Follow along a couple laps with Brandon Eng with the Catalyst Driver Development Team. He's working his way around and again, showing some good pace so far. Dropped his gap down to about a 10. Looks like he may have dropped a tire there. Saw his head pop up, wasn't too happy with something. We'll follow along, again, he's about to hit the stripe.
Brendan running double duty this weekend, also running in the 60cc class. Comes to the line, it's still not enough.
Yeah, Brandon is slowing down now. You see a driver on a
CS
CS55 on the
working his way past.
Yeah, Rotax machine to Mosiak. Or the Moisac. We'll figure it out. We got a lot of work to do as well.
We got time.
We got a lot of work to do here, Jackson. Got to go around and find some drivers, find some parents.
We did a good chunk this morning. It is always exciting to come and do a new series like this. But again, there's that big leap into the unknown. But it's exciting to hear so many of these people's storylines coming into this finale.
Indeed. So you follow along, and again, time running out. Just 30 seconds to go, so this should be the final time around for a good chunk of these drivers. We follow along with Sebastian. Again, 3rd on the racetrack. Brorican Oliver, that is in the 715, finds himself 4th with Mason Bemister, Ayrton Cooley, Kai Denaus. Ellis Salzman is the other driver that we have in this field. So wasn't Troy Ferguson. My apologies there. Ellis Salzman, that is, and I believe that just got corrected. She is in the 65 But here we go. Last couple of laps. Checkered flag flies this time for Matthias Broerken. He improved a couple of laps ago, actually this lap, to go to a 51.342. Any improvement on the final time? He doesn't. Brandon Eng next to Cross in the 23.
Demoisac can't get there either.
No improvement. Matthias Broerken, driver on the pole position in Tag Junior. Got a couple of more classes as well heading your way. The Masters and the Grandmasters. Briggs 206 drivers get 1 minute on the grid. We'll see them next.
Multi-class action coming your way from SEMA this weekend. It's the Masters and the Grandmasters in the Briggs 206 powered divisions. These brought to you by Virtual Assistance Pro. It's James Kemp who leads the championship with 3 wins so far this season. Keith Land, the only one with a final win alongside him. He's second in the standings in the Masters. Grandmasters, Michael Shorn out in front. Brian Green is second in the points with Stan Crocker and David Hermanson third and fourth, respectively. It's 3 drivers in the Masters with 11 in the Grandmasters this weekend.
Again, you were talking about the end of season prizes as well. You have 4 of those in contention in the Grandmasters class presented by Brian Green Construction. Virtual Assistant Pros, the sponsor for the 206 Masters class. Again, running these 2 classes together here this weekend. We'll see how they stack up as well. Good number joining us here this weekend. Indeed, for both those classes, Jackson.
Kip Green going to be the first to the line here. I think something else we should mention, and we talk about how important this is, especially in qualifying. This being a longer track and one of the smaller grids we have this weekend, how important to you at a track like this would be finding your own patch of tarmac and trying to have clean air in front of your nose?
Well, it depends, right? Speaking to a couple of drivers earlier, like Blake Nash, I mean, the 206 class, wherever you go, it's very draft dependent, one way or another, right? Finding yourself within a good track position is always important, but I would say at a track like this, where with not too many straightaways, if you will, in a class with 18 drivers, if you will, it's probably easier and better to find yourself within your own space of tarmac, like you said, right? Just putting yourself within a good spot to really be able to stretch your legs and not get tripped up. I think more than anything, it really depends on what you like. If you like following, if you feel like you go faster there, or if you're more comfortable going out there by yourself and putting in those laps, putting your head down, it's really driver's choice. I do think whenever you get into the senior class with 50 drivers total, and again, we're splitting that up into 2, it should be 25 and 25 or 25 and 26, however they may split it up. I believe 51 is the total count that we have. Then it's going to be important, right, to work with somebody with that many drivers. You need that last little bit, but in a class like this with a lot of space out there on the track, so it's really a matter of just putting yourself in a comfortable position to be able to perform.
First laps at full song are in the books. Brian Green getting things started with a 101.425. Jason McDaniel right there with a 101.609. Chris Aludis with a 61.740. Very, very close. And now here comes Michael Shorn with a 101. Brian Green. Caleb, we're getting close to that 1 minute mark. Is everybody chipping away? This track's starting to come alive in qualifying.
And again, we talked about the laps, right? We're just about 2 minutes into this one, and again, you'll start to see it pick up little by little. Only 2 laps. We're starting lap number 3. Expect this lap to be one of the fastest ones that we see so far. Brian Green, like you said, a 1 minute .873. And again, it's changing further back. McDaniel up to second. Timothy Hughes down to third. Michael Shorn to David Hermansen. Your top 5 here so far as we follow along with Brian Green, the 451. Showing some good pace. Jeans, jacket, no problem. Last corner. Working our way to the timing stripe. We'll see what he gives us. Green, does he improve?
No, sir.
This time, not yet. We'll wait for it to update. And he does. Goes down to a 60.662 for Brian Green in the 451.
Further back, David Hermansen improves, leapfrogging Michael Scorn for P4. Good improvement for Stan Crocker as well, going from 11th to 7th, a 101.748. Getting into the final moments here for this multi-class qualifying, the 206 Masters and Grandmasters. Still, Brian Green out in front, about a third of a second up from Jason McDaniel. McDaniel just coming to the line. Still no improvement for him, Caleb.
Yeah, nothing yet. McDaniel trying to give everything he's got. And again, he did go better that last time around. Cut down that gap from about just under half a second, about 4/10 to 3/10 now. A 60.993 for Jason McDaniel in the 91. This time by Brian Green. Looking to reset that fast time. It was at a 6.62. We'll keep an eye on it as it updates. Only a 7. So Green doesn't improve. McDaniel, now the driver we have an eye on here again. We'll see what he can give us on his final time around. And I believe Brian Green, one of the drivers that finds himself in the if you will, Grandmasters class here this weekend. Indeed, the 451 out of Portland, Oregon, joining us here this weekend. So that's a great lap there by Brian Green. And that's also Grandmasters and the Masters. That's an age difference. So the Masters being, if you will, your younger drivers over the age of 30. Your Grandmasters, I believe, that could find themselves, if you compare to Cup Karts North America, it could be like your Legends class. That's 50 and above. So, yeah, we got some experienced veterans, if you will, out in the field here today. And the most experienced of them all, the 451, Brian Green. Best set to start on the pole.
Best of the big guys. He'll start alongside Jason McDaniels, Timothy Hughes, and Michael Scorn. Your second row. And as I say that, Timothy Hughes at the buzzer, getting the line. Couple of leapfrogs. Here comes David Hermansen for P3. We're not done yet here in qualifying. Stan Crocker kind of being your biggest loser there, going from 6th to 9th with a couple of big improvements from some guys at the end. Timothy Hughes in second. David Hermansen and Jason McDaniel, your second row. But the best of the big guys, Brian Green, out in front. We'll step away for just a moment. It's Tag Seniors coming up from SEMA.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're going to need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rip protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson through on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
Hey guys, it's Lucas Nogueira here from PSL Karting. I'm here to show you guys about the Micron 6. This is the new dash that came from AIM Sports. After 10 years using the Micron 5, now they came up with the Micron 6. We're gonna talk about some of the updates that they did. First things first, they have a larger screen now. With a different screen that you can see your delta time in real time. So they have a bar graph now that will show the driver if he's getting better or worse throughout the lap. Like when you're driving in iRacing or something like this and you have that bar graph, we have the same now with the Micron 6. One thing that we really like here at PSL is now it comes with a USB-C port. So you charge the dash through this USB port and you don't have a battery anymore. So the guys from the shifter that use the lever here, you won't touch your battery. And we can also use this to download the data. So many times when you're using the Wi-Fi and you're having trouble downloading interference, especially in Las Vegas, we have a lot of interference. You just come in with the cable, plug on your computer, download the data, it's super fast. Another thing that is really good about this dash is the new battery. The new battery lasts the whole week. Like we've been using the dash for the whole week and we only give it a one charge. It's a very long-lasting battery compared to the previous version, okay? Something else about this dash that I find that it was a big improvement was that now it comes with IMU platform of 6 axes. That means it has accelerometers that will measure the acceleration of the dash. So for us that like doing match channels and use the GPS to analyze like acceleration, deceleration, now we're measuring that at 100 times per second. So these accelerometers are very precise and will help us find the balance of the go-kart and help find the right setup for the track. So that's pretty much it about the Micron 6. I hope you guys start using it. We've been using it and it's really good.
Welcome back here to SEMA for our qualifying sessions. The TAG seniors getting set to roll out. And again, when you take a look earlier on today, Jackson, to the warm-up sessions, a couple of drivers found themselves up front. And I believe one of those being Massimo Valiente, if I'm not mistaken here, and he's going to be the first driver to lead us out onto the racetrack here.
It was, and it's him who's runner-up currently in the championship. Boy, this is a close one between our current points leader, Sidney Castles, and Valiante actually has not won a final so far this season. The Queen of the Castle, Sidney, still with 3 wins to her name, hasn't won since Spokane though. So we also need to note this is easily one of our biggest grids of the day, one of our biggest single grids, I should say. And we talk about how high commitment you need, not just for fast laps here, Caleb, but to overtake. This is one of the most important sessions for these big grids because this is setting the tone for your entire day.
It's really just a matter of putting yourself within a good spot where you can fight in, right? You look at the heat races, the pre-final, the final. Again, you have one shot really, and we talked about the margin of error on the racetrack. We also talk about it with the schedule that we have here, right? Very little with that pre-final. You need to be perfect, pretty much. You can't afford to have a mistake. You can't afford to put yourself at the back of the grid starting in the main event when you're looking for a championship, when you're looking for wins here as well, and when you're looking for those prizes as well that we all love at the end of the year or at the end of a championship. So that's important. And speaking of Sydney as well, earlier on today, she said, they started off really well in the year whenever they were over in Spokane. If you want to ask me where that was, I believe that was maybe in Oregon. Is Spokane in Oregon?
Very good.
So my geography obviously needs some work. We talk, this series goes to Oregon, I believe Idaho as well, one of the ones that it goes to, and then Washington. So in this, if you will, Pacific Northwest area. And again, I haven't opened a map since probably high school, so it's been quite some time. But again, hearing a lot of drivers traveling, right? You have the Canada border, just about 30 minutes walking, max, maybe even less than that, 15 minutes.
I do not
at
think
that.
you could geographically get more northwest on a map than where we are right now, the little village of Sumas, literally driving into the track this morning, Caleb.
Yeah.
We saw Border Patrol, or the border checkpoint, so could not be further up, and obviously we're in American soil, but so many Canadians from Vancouver make that jump over here
only 45
regularly
minutes
and call this place home. So very, very heavy Canadian presence on this track regularly, weekend to weekend. Sydney Castle's no different.
Yeah, and we take a look now at the times. We're just over 2 minutes into this qualifying session. Valiente currently quickest, 51.288. Evan Arnold second. Gardner finds himself in third. Jonathan Ports to Mauricio Parada. Your top five, McLean, Olander, Clark. Sydney Castle's only ninth to start off here. And again, you talked about the championship points. She needs a good weekend to capitalize here.
Maybe a slow start for her. We'll see what she can ramp up as she comes to the line for her second timed lap. But I mean, you know this better than anybody else, Caleb. Starting something out in a high leverage kind of situation like this, you need to be at least in the sharp end of the field, top 5, top 8 maybe, because you look at that start, everybody's mothballing in the mid-pack, looking for positions, looking for a chance to get to that front end.
Indeed, and again, needing a couple of good results here this weekend. From the looks of it, she finished just about second and 7th at the opening rounds, and then finished first at the second weekend for the second rounds. Swept that weekend, and then again another win looked like went to her name whenever they headed out to SKRA as well, Jackson. So take a look at Sydney. Here she is on the number 12, Italcart for Catalyst Driver Development.
Some time improvement there, jumped up from 9th to 7th with a 51.370. Comes back to the line. No improvement for her, still half a second back from Massimo Valiante, a 59.14. And you look second and back, Cadella Gardner right there with him, just 0.2 off. Evan Arnold as well, 0.3 exactly. So starting to get spicy here in qualifying with just a handful of minutes to go. Give it a lap and a half here for guys to really, really get their fangs out.
And again, a variety of different engines, right? You have the X125 here this weekend as well with Ital Motors, the engine of Italcart. I believe that's also what we have Sydney on this weekend. Not sure what Valiente is going to be running. Again, it's just having a close look, right? If you do look very closely on those engines, it should be about a green almost engine casing on the top of the engine. So take a quick look at it, see what everybody's running. But even then, you have the red top and the green top, so just getting confirmation as well from actually one of the mechanics over at Italcart and Catalyst Driver Development, Marcelo Sanchez-Ar, working with Quarantine Rousseau here this weekend. So great to note. Again, learning process for all of us. So
right.
Here we go.
And we talked to Sydney Castles this morning talking about the difference between each of these engines, some having different properties with more acceleration either in the low end or a little bit more power in the high end. As we see the checkered flag now, and one kart off just after the stripe. Not entirely sure who that is. Still Valiante out in front. Some time gained or time improved for Cadella Gardner. Still not enough to pounce on that pole position. Jonathan Ports drops another spot, goes from 5th to 6th as Sydney Castles improves to a 51.303.
Yeah, Sydney up into the top 5 in the number 12. Valiente, again, you talked about his lap time, 50.837. As pickup now getting set to go underway for one driver, but Valiente holds on strong, and then again, that's a swing in the championship as well in favor of Valiente as well. Don't forget, for those of you here at the racetrack, I've seen a couple of them out here as well. The new Micron 6 available now at shopakr.com, the official sponsor of Kart Chaser. Scan your QR code, order yours today, and then again, you saw a little video as well there earlier on from Lucas Noguera, the official data analyst for Kart Chaser and PSL Karting. Burrell Art. So great to hear from him. And you talk about all the new features of the Micron 6. I believe whenever the Micron 7 comes out, you do phone calls, FaceTime, you know, stream, if you will. No, but all jokes aside, the Micron 6, you hear all the new properties to it, the new little, if you will, nuances to it. And again, order yours today at shopakr.com. And I also want to remind you guys at home watching on, if you want to watch all the racing action later on today, do not forget to become a KC Premium member for only $9.99 a month. If you go to our channel, go to our page, click the join button. Make sure you do it on a PC or an Android device. If you do it on an Apple device, it tacks on an extra $2.99 that we do not see. That goes to Apple. Don't pay those extra $2. Right. I pay those extra $2. If I kept all that 12 months, you do $3, 12 times 3. You're better at math than me. 12 times 3. I'm really struggling with 12 times 3 here.
We're words people. We're not numbers people.
36. 30 just got confirmation.
Thank you.
Thank you to Trevor Blue as well. That's actually very bad. We should have swayed away from that. Not a math major myself.
No.
So, yeah, but it's 36. So I would have saved $36 on the year if I. Anyways, subscribe, become a member, $9.99. Do it on a PC, whatever you will. HP, Windows. You get the gist of it. We'll see you later on today.
Samsung Smart Fridge.
There you go. We'll see you later on today. That being said, one of the unique classes that we have here this weekend as well, the NWKA, or the NW, my apologies, the NW60cc class. Anywhere else you go, you have your minis, your micros, but we all have them in one, right? You have the, if you will, the X60cc power plant that Ital Motors makes. And again, if you're running a Mini Swift, if you're running a VLR, or if you're a Rock Mini, you run in this class. So there is no micro. There is the 60cc. And again, all drivers that want to run on the 2-cycle side of things, they run here in the 60cc class. So good to see. Good showing. Carlucci already with one of the pole positions in the cadet classes, if you will. The 100, one driver to look out for. We'll see how he does on the 2-cycle side of things.
So it's William Work coming into this with a healthy lead in the championship, almost exactly 100 points over Lincoln High. 5 drivers with full-time eligibility for end-of-year rewards. That's Lincoln High in the 33, Caleb Canfield in the number 8, Ashton Croft in the 84, and J.J. Tucker in the 85. Oh. We have trouble for the 95. That's Maverick Thompson.
Unfortunate there for the 95 with issues, and hasn't even been able to set in a lap to start it off. Man, that's a rough ending to the 95 Nitro Kart. Not going to join us here, and that should put him at the back of the grid once we get in a pre-final action, Jackson.
Thompson, who was right in the middle of the mix for 206 Junior, was trying to keep that momentum going in the 60cc's, and unfortunately didn't even get a chance for a clean lap. The kid is very, very fast, so that's going to be someone we're going to be watching out for. A last to blank challenge. We'll see how many positions he can potentially move his way up once we get our way to the pre-final here after lunch. First time laps coming in. Oliver Carpentier getting things started, a 57.046 with William Mork in second.
Yeah, here we go. We continue to look out. 8 drivers total with us. Should have been 9. And Oliver Carpenter currently the quickest. We follow along with the driver in second at the moment, William Wark. And again, it's showing the best time of a 39.737. I'm not sure if that's correct, because that would be even faster than what our shifters are going here, Jackson.
Math ain't math in there.
No, not yet. But that should put them... I'm actually not sure, because I'm seeing the last times. They're running around the 56 range. So that's a fast time in the 60cc class here.
Cobble Hill, British Columbia native. Will Wark trying to work his way to the pole position here for the 60cc, brought to you by Vega Electric, as he works his way out of this middle section. should note, once we get to the pre-final, this is another kind of unique way things are ran here in Burly Super Cup, and specifically, I suppose, here at SEMA. 2 different start zones for us today, Caleb.
You have one just right next to the grid, and one as well where we have our normal finishing spot. So the start zone, the standing starts are going to be for the shifters and for the 206 seniors. And then you'll have a little bit different as well, right, with the 2 cycle classes, if you will. They're going to be starting on the regular start-finish line, and I believe that is going to be the starting points are going to be different. The finish line is going to be the same for all classes.
Why no standing starts for the 206s, or excuse me, for the bigger kind of tag engines?
They bog down.
Right.
So again, more often than not, that's a great question as well. If you look back to Route 66 earlier this year, even slow starts, those engines can flood, as well as you have them running on the grid like that. The carburation issues, a whole lot of things not good for the engines one way or another. But that being said, 206, it'll be interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a sprint race, if you will, with a standing start.
I'm amped.
Until this weekend. So I'm excited to see it. And again, something different, right, about the NWKA Burly Product Super Cup. And I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it play out. That being said, we refocus on the racetrack here. Jackson, Oliver Carpenter, looks like he's holding on. And again, gotta do a little bit of math here as well with the lap times, as they are a little bit different. But that being said, I really wish I could tell you, but the checkered flag is coming out.
We know they did laps, so we're not entirely
We're not sure who did the fastest one. That's the issue we're running into here.
We should get that answer for you as soon as possible. But what we are being told is Oliver Carpentier is the quickest. William Wark in second, Ashton Croft and Sebastian Ochi in your second row. Step away for just a moment here with Junior Briggs 206 coming up.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're going to need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rib protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson through on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
Hey guys, it's Lucas Nogueira here from PSL Karting. I'm here to show you guys about the Micron 6. This is the new dash that came from AIM Sports. After 10 years using the Micron 5, now they came up with the Micron 6. We're going to talk about some of the updates that they did. First things first, they have a larger screen now with a different screen that you can see your delta time in real time. So they have a bar graph now that will show the driver if it's getting better or worse throughout the lap. Like when you're driving in iRacing or something like this and you have that bar graph, we have the same now with the Micron 6. One thing that we really like here at PSL is now it comes with a USB-C port. So you charge the dash through this USB port and you don't have a battery anymore. So the guys from the shifter that use the lever here, you won't touch your battery. And we can also use this to download the data. So many times when you're using the Wi-Fi and you're having trouble downloading interference, especially in Las Vegas, we have a lot of interference. You just come in with the cable, plug on your computer, download the data, it's super fast. Another thing that is really good about this dash is the new battery. The new battery lasts the whole week. Like, we've been using the dash for the whole week, and we only give it a 1 charge. It's a very long-lasting battery compared to the previous version, okay? Something else about this dash that I find that it was a big improvement was that now it comes with IMU platform of 6 axes. That means it has accelerometers that will measure the acceleration of the dash. So for us that like doing match channels and use the GPS to analyze like acceleration, deceleration, now we're measuring that at 100 times per second. So these accelerometers are very precise and will help us find the balance of the go-kart and help finding the right setup for the track. So that's pretty much it about the Micron 6. I hope you guys start using it. We've been using it and it's really good.
Junior 206 Briggs out on track to put their fastest laps down. Jackson Lambros alongside Caleb Bieska. So glad you could join us on this Saturday morning for the first time for Kart Chaser here in the state of Washington.
It's afternoon now. We're past noon.
It really is. Well, by 60 seconds.
Come on now. Not even then. I mean, it's been a great start to the day, right? Slept in a little bit longer than usual.
That's new for us.
Yeah, right. New for us as well. So cool to see, right? Almost waking up 8 a.m. local time for me in Houston, Texas. So great to have that little bit of extra sleep nonetheless. But even then, we have our Augie's fiberglass Junior 206 class out onto the racetrack now. And Assad. And I'm going to try to say this as efficient as possible. Assad Nikadembayev. In the 230. Going to keep me on my toes. Nikadembayev.
Brussels born with Uzbekistani heritage. Lives in Oregon. And is trying to be one of the first drivers with Uzbek heritage to be on the motorsports map globally. Here's your championship picture for the Augie's Fiberglass Junior 2 Briggs 206. It's Colt Schlotauer in the lead, has dominated thus far, won all but 3 finals so far this year. Lewis Dilley in second. Nikadembayev is in third, with Ben Corkery in fourth. Plenty of drivers still in this full season championship fight, but it has been a little bit of a breakaway here for Colt Schlotauer in the 45, 101 points over Lewis Dilley in the 8:17 to 17 on your screen.
And we just got confirmation as well. Appreciate it as well by Luke Ryder. And again, I guess we'll just go with King Assad, right?
Love it.
As well, King Assad. That's a good nickname to have for Assad, who's working with us here. But here we go. First couple of laps, getting set to go. Assad works his way through. Top of the timing pylon for a second. Zoe Allen in the number 7 goes quickest of 57.857 here, Jackson. And that driver finds herself in the 7. The driver working with Assad at the moment. Looked to be another driver in about the 2. Not sure if that was. We'll keep an eye on it here.
Yep,
as it progresses.
Roscoe Schmidt right here in the blue number 8 machine. Again, one of those top drivers right now enters P7 in the championship. Been waiting for that big weekend to stand on the podium. Has only finished once outside of the top 10 though. Incredible consistency so far this season. Can we see some brilliance at the finale? He's shown the pace thus far, 3rd quickest as we come to the stripe once again. And now Ben Corkery works his way to the top of 57.542.023. Separating first and second, less than a tenth, less than half a tenth, separating our top 3.
Very close. The margins in between this this class, and this is where I gave you the difference, right? You look at the Grandmasters, the Masters class. It's okay to work on your own to try and find a little bit of track position, but here you have 3 teammates, right, that have found themselves on the racetrack. A little bit of same liveries, I believe. One of the Wicked Racing GFCs at the front, and 2 other drivers within the same tent, pushing each other along, working together, using the draft throughout the corners where it's necessary, and as well giving each other enough room to where you're not interrupting each other's laps. And this is great, right? As far as track position goes and as far as comfort goes, it looks like all 3 of them might be on GFC machines. We'll take a look at it as well later on throughout the day. Laps starting to change now. Jackson, the 60, just to the top. Jack Bodish.
That's Corkery and Schlotauer behind the 60 of Jack Bodish. The 2 white, black, and orange machines working with one another. I want to say these are Ital carts as well, but they're both out of the same camp, as it is once again Jack Bodish out in front. And man, this entire field, top 10 within a second of one another, top 5 within less than a quarter of one another. Absolute knife edge stuff. And now Zoe Allen is the one that will become the caboose, or excuse me, become the engine of this freight train. Roscoe Schmidt right in front, major train of carts trying to find the perfect lap here with just a couple of opportunities remaining.
Here we go, a couple of change. Asad Nikarambayev to the top, the 230. Pulls a lap in the last second of 57.491. And when you look at the margin, 7 thousandths of a second in between Bodish and the 6C. More drivers crossing the line now, but nobody quicker than Asad Nikarambayev on the pole position in Junior Briggs. What a lap on the final time around. Lap number 6 was a lap where he got it done.
And with,
how about that for the 230?
And with a gap separating your front row of .007, it's easily one of the closest gaps we've seen all day, and it's a GoldenEye lap from King Assad in the 230. Absolute stellar margins there, and we will hope that that kind of energy continues here in the Junior Briggs. Step away for just a moment. Tag heavy coming up from SEMA.
Welcome back. Here we get going with your tag heavy class presented by the Catalyst Driver Development Team. First couple laps starting to go underway, and again, we talked about the variety and engine packages as well here this weekend, Jackson. Ital Motors producing their own engines, the X125, again given 125 cc's, the same as you have in your Rock Vortex power plant, if you will, your X30 package, your Rotax package. But there is a slight difference to these Ital Motors, the X125. You have two different versions. The red top you have is an engine that has, again, a little bit more top end. And the green top, which is what I have seen the most of out of the Ital Karts and the Catalyst Driver Development Team, has a little bit more bottom end. And again, given you don't have, I would say, as many straightaways maybe at this racetrack, so you want to carry the speed throughout the low speed corners, which is why that bottom end is so important, if you will. So you see a little bit more of those green top engines as well. Make, I guess if you will, you see more of those green top engines strapped onto the side of these Ital karts. So something to note here, something different, something for me to learn. And I guess for you as well, right? And I feel like it's hard, you know, use of the car side of things, coming to the karting side, and then you have 3 or 4 different engines, but it's super cool to see the variety, the differences, and as well the how healthy these classes are, and the competition in between that. It's almost a different, like you said, right, a different level of understanding of whiz, if you will, trying to get on top of things here this weekend.
I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Caleb, any other manufacturer offers different levels or different power bands like that from the factory. So no, very cool for Ital Kart to offer that, you know, from the factory floor. Let's take a quick look here at your championship picture for the Catalyst Driver Development Tag Heavies. It's Johnny Sutton with 100 points out in front over James Kemp. Still Brian Hannon and Joe Filipanco in this fight as well. And Hannon right there as well with 1422 points. A little bit further back is Joe Filipanco at 1394. 4. Going to be a little bit of a stretch for Filipenko to really get to the front of this field, but with a good set of laps here and a good weekend, could potentially close that gap to Johnny Sutton out in front with 15:37.
Yeah, here we go, and Johnny Sutton showing why he's at the top of the points coming into the weekend. 52.637 for Sutton, and he's in the 22. We follow along with the 619. That's James Kemp. Currently finds himself in 4th here on that OTK machine.
Watching Will Beidel in the number 12 here. Not full-time eligibility, but man, he's had a very, very strong partial season. 4 wins, an absolute sweep of Spokane just a couple months ago, and has hit the ground running as he tries to work his way to the sharp end of the field. It's Johnny Sutton out in front so far. Frank Berthelin in P2, Will Blythel in 3rd with James Kemp in 4th as we're about halfway home in tag heavy qualifying.
Yeah, we continue along with the 22. Johnny Sutton at 52.608 the last time around, so that's an improvement there. Extends his gap to just over 3/10. Frank in the 695 as well improved on his second lap. Just under 2 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Beidel in the 11 puts himself in 3rd at 53.040. Jackson?
Let's go back to these different engine options because you've gotten to drive a variety of different karts. Obviously, these different tops for these Ital engines offer these different power bands. How noticeable is that behind the wheel?
I mean, it's noticeable, I guess, side-by-side comparisons, right? One of the biggest things that I've kind of gotten, familiar with driving is a Rotax power plant, right? It's a package that has, it's better on the top end side of things, not as good as bottom. So getting yourself in that range and as well being, that's one of those engine packages where you can't slam your foot on the gas, or else you'll flood the carburation on the Rotax power plant. So it is very noticeable whenever you are behind the wheel. I've never driven one of these X125s, so that's again something that I couldn't tell you because we don't have it down south. Right. But even then, right, it will be something notable for these drivers, especially testing things back to back like you do have. That being said, checkered flag in the air. First driver across the line, Johnny Sutton. Let's see if he went any better on his last time.
Last lap 52.716,
No
52.667, so does get a sliver of insurance over Frank Berthelon as he works his way to the line now. Last lap 52.933 does not improve this time by. So it will be Johnny Sutton and Frank Berthelon on the front row here for Tag Heavy. And we will step aside for just a moment. Time for the Senior Briggs, the split classes to come up. Just a handful of qualifying sessions before we take a break and do it for real.
And I will say this, Jackson, this is the biggest 206 senior class in the nation outside of Cup Karts North America, where in October, or I should say end of September this year, you'll see 90 of the best 206 drivers in the entire world work their way out there. And again, race at Newcastle Motorsports Park for the Grand National Championships at Cup Karts North America. But this, the biggest that I've seen with 50 drivers total, the biggest that you'll see anywhere in the nation. And again, if you're in need of a new suit, neck brace, shoes, helmet, whatever you name it, Shop AKR. Get your Sparko suits at shopakr.com, the official sponsor of Kart Chasers live coverage. But what a turnout for the Senior Briggs class here this weekend. And again, we talked about the standing starts. Something to look out for here as well later on today. We're excited for it. We're excited to bring you the qualifying coverage here in a couple of moments. Well, Jackson, it's time to go qualifying, and again, 50 drivers total in this class. So we are going to have to split them up here. That being said, groups A and C, I believe, the first to work their way out onto the racetrack, and indeed, your senior Briggs class, A and C, first drivers out onto the racetrack.
I think there is something to be said about the multi-engine appeal in the remainder of the classes, helping to contribute to the size of these grids, but the ever-trustworthy Briggs & Stratton 206 is used, as many of us know, in karting leagues throughout the nation, and has been the common ground for entry-level competition karting. So not too much of a shocker to see some big-sized grids, but man, we want to talk about just how shocking this is. I don't think, well, no, Caleb put into words either, or earlier, the only place you're going to see them bigger is CKNA. So it's the big kahuna, and it's split qualifying here.
Hey, here we go. We follow along with Grote in the 17. I believe Jack Grote, that is. Chin as well, the driver right behind him in the 989. Two of the drivers for GFC Wicked Racing here this weekend. McLean in the 88, Wang in the 998, Blakesley in the 11, Hager and more find themselves in this first session. Cooper Becklin, I believe, another one of the notables here as well. He's down at 19. But we take a look at it. Connor Chin, first driver to get a lap in.
Chin currently 4th in the standings and is one of the many drivers trying to win this championship outright. It's tight up front. Riley Miller just 30 points over Jake Sessler. Some of these guys we'll see in the second qualifying session in just a few minutes' time. Jackson Leash is 3rd. Giovanni Benson, Connor Chin, Zach Meyer, Andrew Oakey, and Treston Moore rounding out your group of guys still in contention. It is incredibly close, though, with 5-6 drivers within 150 points. So if you wanted to add any more of an aspect to this, add more drama to this final weekend, a lot of guys really making this grid big. It's going to be interesting.
Guys and girls.
Guys and girls.
And here this weekend as well. But even then, huge showing for this 206 class. Like you said, Riley Miller, driver at the top in the 000. And the class is sponsored by Chin Construction. Must be said here, and we'll see what the 989 can get it done for the sponsor. And so far, so good. A 58.934 for Connor Chin. Jack Grote, teammate, finds himself right behind him. And again, at the moment, Chin finds himself being the pusher out on the racetrack. We'll see if that changes around as well in a couple of laps. See what Jack Grote can do behind Connor here in a couple of laps. And we follow on with the second group, right? A huge contingent this weekend for the Wicked Racing team.
Obviously, less power these 206s make than your tags and other GP-style fixed-speed engines. I mean, we're seeing this right now. You get that kind of NASCAR Talladega-style pack racing just because it's so momentum-based, and you see everybody trying to maximize that extra draft, trying to get, help from their teammates, pushing one another. It's such a unique kind of racing here with the Briggs.
Yeah, qualifying, we talked a lot about momentum, and especially in this qualifying class, it's going to be super important to keep that momentum up, right? And you see a mistake there out of the driver leading this train, drop that tire into the dirt. That's not going to be beneficial to the rest of the drivers in the train, right? Because that's going to slow them down just a little bit. That being said, whenever you get in a racing action, picking and choosing where you're going to make your moves, when you're going to make them, is going to be that much more important. And that adds a little bit more to qualifying, right? You need to pick and choose your moves as well. You saw one there, looking to get one done in what looks to be turn 10. But even then, it's just a matter of picking the right spot to do it and losing as little time as you can.
Right.
That's the name of the game here in 206cc.
That's Ryder McLean out in front, and the non-verbals here are telling me he's kind of bottlenecking this field behind a couple of drivers further back, looking for ways around right now. Now this pack kind of starts to dilute. It's still Connor Chin out in front. That was razor thin between him and Jack Grote up at the front of the field. Now Trey Aisman gets some major gains, still not enough to snap the top from Connor Chin. Just .060 between them. Jack Grote third.
Okay, here we go. Another driver kicking some dirt up in the air. As we follow along, what looks to be the 612. That's rounding up your top 10 at the moment there on the pylon to your left.
Hunter Hesseline in the 612.
Yeah, there you go. Hunter, looks like it's a T, Hunter Hesseltine. But that being said, checkered flag in the air, Jackson. Connor Chin holds on to the provisional pole of 58.813. Trey Ardenson in second. And again, not yet. We're not going to call it too early. Holds on to the provisional pole.
Ardenson to the line. Last lap, 58.873. 59.123 that time by. Will not get it done. Riley Miller, no gains either. So strong running to open for Connor Chin. But again, not done yet. Second half of the Chin Construction Senior 206 coming up. Groups Bravo and Delta. Just a moment.
And I will say this here, Jackson, there are last chance qualifiers here later on today for the Senior Briggs class. And again, that's for drivers looking to work their way into the show. You need to have a good pre-final to work your way into that. So that's going to be Senior Briggs 206A and C. They're going to find themselves in their own pre-final. B and D at 3:24 later on today are going to find themselves in their own pre-final as well. And then again, the back half, they're going to find themselves going into the LCQ to try and qualify into the show, into the main event tonight at 6:32 p.m. And again, we talked about the margin of error on the racetrack. Very minimal.
Going to be a phenomenal show here with just how tight this entire pack is. And again, I mean, you look at the top 10 all separated by about half a second, top three within 0.2 of one another. We'll step aside for just a moment. Second half of Senior Briggs Qualifying coming up.
You have the second group, the B and D groups working their way out onto the racetrack, and it looks like a triple duty this weekend as well for Massimo Valiente. Blake Nash, the driver, just right behind him. And again, a couple of the Ital karts looking to work together here.
Valiente, who has actually not had a start yet in the 206s, feels very strange also. Should mention to see Blake Nash in a 206 when we traditionally see him in the tag classes. But always good to see some mad science from the California kid.
Not strange to see him in a go-kart, though.
No, never.
I'll tell you what. Well, look at this group as well. Earlier on in the morning, Valiente was the quickest. Jackson Leach was second to Blake Nash. In third, Monroe Jordan, Jake Sessler. And that was your top five at the end of the session. And again, Valiente showing his pace, showing he's been strong. And again, you look at the other side as well, right? Valiente and Chin won't meet each other until the main event. Again, given if they both do make it in unscathed from the pre-final with no problems at hand. That being said, you take a look at it here. Valiente Nash, this is going to benefit the two of them, I think, a whole lot here, Jackson.
How so?
I would say, right, we talked about it in the Masters, the Grand Masters class, working together, especially in this class. Speaking of Blake, saying finding a pushing partner is a little better at this racetrack. Again, you also hear, especially if you're in the draft of somebody or pushing somebody, you get into that rev limiter a little bit quicker. You hear the engine as well. The revs pick up with the clean air that you find yourself. You compare it a lot to NASCAR style Talladega. whatnot. Right, this racetrack doesn't have those straightaways, but you're still going to hear that engine get into a different rev range when you are behind somebody and when you are working with somebody, if you will.
Do you feel like Nash is at a disadvantage here by being the pusher?
I think if anything, you're more at an advantage, right? You have a marker, you're chasing something almost as well. I always find it better whenever I am behind somebody and trying to find that lap, because more often than not, you do go faster when you are behind. If you're in front, you don't really have, you have more room. I would say if you are in front, you are making, I would say, maybe more mistakes when you are behind. You're seeing the difference, right? You're visually seeing what's faster and what's not. So even then, I think if you're talking about being in the best position, I would say it's the driver just right behind them, right? The number 7. I
believe that's actually Monroe Jordan
yeah.
in the 2. It is. He's currently
yeah.
second quickest.
Then I would say Monroe's in the best spot, and you see how they close down. And now you have the change, right? Now you have Blake going to the front ahead of Valiente, and I think Jordan, they may have gotten bottlenecked a little bit that lap. And you see Valiente there, right? Signaling a little bit. Let's back off a little bit, and you'll see them close back up in this next lap.
So Jordan pulls up a chair in the number 2. He is right there with Connor Chen, not quite able to get there. 0.032 separating the provisional pole sitter in the 989. Trey Aisman remains in 3rd. Then it's Gavin Clarahan in 4th. Hunter Heseltine, in 5th. Here comes the new laps. Cooper Becklin jumps up to 2nd. And man, you look at this kind of teamwork right now between our 2 heavy hitters, Nash, and you're not really seeing that momentum right now.
Not yet. And again, they've traded positions. They found that comfort zone a little bit, right, to try and set in some laps. So we'll see what it looks like this last time around for Blake Nash as he drops a tire, makes a mistake just over the curb. You see him go wide, and I don't think that's going to benefit Valiente or Jordan out a whole lot there. We'll see how that what that lap time looks like. And again, talk about error here, right? Very marginal. Unfortunate there for Blake. Finds himself down in 6th in qualifying so far. This time they're going to have one more lap. Checkered flag still hasn't come out yet. And it's getting close here. Jordan 3rd. Valiente 7th. And you have a little bit more change there as well.
Still no gains and still no time difference. Somehow, 1st through 5th within a 1/10 of a second. Cooper Becklin back by 0.006 of a second. You can fit a lot of time within a blink of an eye compared to 0.006. Getting to the final laps here, and Nash kind of getting thrown to the wolves, watching the 28 of Cooper Becklin getting some pushing help further behind. I believe that's Huang further back, not entirely sure.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out on that as well. And Cooper Becklin, you see him tuck in under that steering wheel, looking to get a little bit of more, you will, aerodynamics out of it. He is a taller driver, kind of a sail.
Look at that.
In that Kart. And yeah,
crouch.
That's what we call the Briggs tuck here in 206 Racing. That being said, checkered flag in the air. Jake Sessler to the top. Blake Nash salvages a little bit of his qualifying session up to 2nd. In the number 9, Connor Chin falls back to 3rd. Becklin, 4th.
Think so, yes.
Monroe Jordan, but Jake Sessler in the 42 finds some time late in the qualifying session here, Jackson. What an end to that one. And I believe it's safe to call it the 42. Sessler on the pole position, fastest in Senior Briggs. 100cc out onto the racetrack now. And again, your junior class, the last of our classes here before we hit the lunch break. A quick reminder for those of you at home, if you want to join us for the racing action later on today, do not forget to become a KC Premium member for only $9.99 a month. And have you seen the commercial that I star in alongside Brandon Simone? It's just cheaper than Netflix, cable, cat food, maybe even marketing. A whole lot. It's just cheaper than a whole lot of stuff. We'd love to see you guys on the other side. And again, don't forget, just head to the channels page, click join. Make sure you do it on a PC or Windows, HP, whatever. If you do it on an Apple device, it will charge you an extra $2.99 that we do not see. But again, we'd love to see you guys on the other side for the racing action later on today. That being said, the action on the racetrack, picking up here, the last of our qualifying sessions, the last of our qualifying session here on Saturday, the Wicked Racing, Madonna Racing Northwest 100 junior class out onto the racetrack as we keep an eye. Ben Corkery, the driver who leads us out.
Grayson Thorpe Dublé leads the championship, a no-show this weekend with the drop round, 35 points up over Enzo Noel. Then it's Ariv Kapita Basu in third at 14.63. Sid Castles at 14.03. Riley Allen at 13.93. And Tegan McNeil in the number 6 kart in at 14 points. So 6 drivers full-time with prize eligibility here in the CMC Northwest 100cc senior class. Or junior, excuse me.
Yeah, and here we go. And again, Jackson, you asked me a little bit about spacing in these qualifying sessions, right? In the junior class, especially in 100cc, that's where it's so important, because you may have some drivers like this one here who has an issue now, is slowing. You saw him drop a tire off to the racetrack. We'll get a name onto that Ital
Looks
kart.
like Madeline Weber. I want to say if that was the 28.
If so, you have very good vision there, Jackson. If that is correct. Wasn't able to catch that number, but even then we follow along with a couple of others that look to set in some fast laps here in qualifying.
Kind of going into pairs, got a trio here. Taylor Noble currently second quickest.
Here's the fastest, the 8:17 of Lewis Dilly of 53.528 on lap number 2. And we'll see how that changes. We're just halfway through this session, 2.5 minutes down, another 2.5 to go.
Dilly runner-up currently in the Junior Briggs 206 division. Has only been part-time here running the 100cc junior, so could be hitting the road very, very quick here. Not a Portland he wanted when he debuted in this class, a 21st and a 12th to start it out, but hitting the ground absolutely running here. Mateus Barokin, P2, Maximilian de Guzman in third, Jack Bodish fourth, Jackson Gibson is fifth.
Well, Jackson Gibson is now at the top of 53.136. What a change for the 824. Put himself top of the timing charts. Colt Schlotthauer in the 845 currently second of 53.183. 400ths of a second in between those two drivers. Brandon Eng finds himself third. Matthias Borkin and Lewis Dilly now fell back to fifth after not being able to improve that last time around. Here we go as we follow along with Jackson Gibson in the 824. We'll see what this driver on his OTK machine can give us on his, if you will, third to last time around.
Lake Oswego, Oregon native. And currently not full-time in the juniors as well. The one race he did so far in the 100 juniors, he won Saturday at Portland.
Here we go, a couple of drivers getting themselves into the top 10. Asadna Karambayev up to 7. Matthias Broerken 6th. Eng into the top 5. Nobody went better than Jackson Gibson, who didn't go better than himself actually the last time by. Only a 53.421. And again, we talked a lot about that money lap as well in prior classes, right? Lap 3 was a lap where we saw a lot of drivers put in that good lap time, if you will, right? We're still going to look for it as well later on lap number 6 maybe. If these drivers can burn a lap, get themselves kind of in better track position, that could be another factor. I'm not sure if we'll see much improvement at this point out of anybody else. And again, I'd love to be proved wrong here as well, Jackson. That's the best part. And Lewis Dilley just did just that.
Wow.
A 53.037 for Lewis Dilley goes quicker than Jackson Gibson, who actually improved on lap number 5, but couldn't go better. Checkered flag will fly this time by, Jackson.
Starting to get spicy here in our final qualifying session of the day. And man, I struggle to see where guys are able to find time here. Again, we talk about how much this track has rubbered in throughout the day, and you know, obviously that might come from a little bit of help with other people in this class, but man, what a battle for the front it's been.
Yeah, here we go, and it's about to cap off your checkered flag in the air. The 817 of Dilley going to be the first one to see it. When we cross the line, what does Dilley give us that time around? We'll wait for it to update. Checkered flag in the air on lap number 6. Colt Schlotthauer to the top of 52.984. What a lap. The 845 surprises everybody. Dilley, it was Gibson at the top for a bit, but Schlotthauer on the pole position here in junior.
Lone driver to get it into the 52s and got it at the buzzer. Lewis Dilley going to roll off in second. Jackson Gibson in third alongside fellow Jack Bowdish. Then it's Corkery Eng for Cohen, Nikodambev, de Guzman, and Carpentier rolling out your top 10 for our final qualifying session of the day.
Do not forget, join, become a KC Premium member, only $9.99 a month. Simply go to our channel, hit join, and we'll see you on the other side. We're switching streams. We'd love to see you join us as well later on today. A quick break in the action, a lunch break for our hardworking crew and the hardworking NWKA crew. We'll be back with more racing action at 1:12 for the start of the pre-finals. For myself, Caleb Yeska, from Jackson Lambros, from everybody here at Kart Chaser, we'll see you on the other side.